The battlefield may have reached a turning point, as a series of recent developments raised fresh concerns in Kyiv that the war could be entering a far more difficult and unpredictable phase. Why is President Volodymyr Zelensky facing mounting pressure? Reports of Russia's expanding military plans and preparations have sparked fears that Moscow could be preparing for a much larger offensive than previously expected. Could Russia be preparing to mobilize another 500,000 troops? New reports have fueled speculation that the Kremlin is quietly laying the groundwork for a prolonged and significantly larger military campaign. An unexpected surge in Russian troop numbers could dramatically alter the balance on the battlefield, raising concerns among military analysts that Ukraine's defensive lines may come under unprecedented pressure in the months ahead. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has warned that Vladimir Putin could order the mobilization of more than 500,000 additional troops after Russia's September elections, potentially setting the stage for a major escalation in the war. Despite sustaining heavy battlefield losses over more than 4 years of fighting, Vladimir Putin has vowed to intensify Russia's military campaign and continue pursuing Moscow's territorial ambitions in Ukraine. According to Ukrainian estimates, Russia has suffered around 1.4 million casualties since launching its full-scale invasion in February 2022, highlighting the enormous human cost of the prolonged conflict. Available estimates indicate that nearly 500,000 Russian troops may have been killed since the war began, though casualty figures remain disputed and cannot be independently verified. Some reports claim that newly deployed Russian frontline soldiers survive an average of just 20 minutes in the most intense combat zones, underscoring the brutal conditions on parts of the battlefield. President Zelensky has argued that Vladimir Putin will end the war only if Russia is militarily forced to do so, insisting that sustained pressure remains the only path to lasting peace. Ukraine has stepped up long-range strikes deep inside Russian territory, aiming to disrupt military operations and demonstrate that the consequences of the war can also be felt beyond the front lines. During its summer campaign, Kyiv has increasingly targeted military airfields, logistics hubs, fuel depots, and other strategic infrastructure in an effort to weaken Russia's operational capabilities. Ukrainian officials say these long-range operations have slowed Russia's battlefield momentum, forcing Moscow to divert additional resources toward defending critical infrastructure inside its own territory. At the same time, President Zelensky says Ukraine is preparing for yet another difficult winter, as the prolonged conflict continues to strain the country's military, economy, and civilian population. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky is reportedly seeking a face-to-face meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin to revive stalled peace efforts. Zelensky's advisor has announced that the Ukrainian president is prepared to hold direct talks with Vladimir Putin if conditions are met. Mikhailo Podolyak claimed Volodymyr Zelensky is pushing for a comprehensive ceasefire covering both aerial bombardments and ground combat operations. According to reports, Ukraine is now looking to begin what it describes as complex negotiations with the Russian side to end the war. Zelensky has also called for a complete halt to Russian missile and drone strikes targeting Ukraine's critical energy infrastructure. In addition, Kyiv is reportedly seeking a full suspension of hostilities, with fighting across the front line brought to a complete standstill. The renewed diplomatic push comes as Trump's top diplomat reportedly claimed Washington wants Russia and Ukraine to return to peace negotiations once again.
The average American, you see Cuba, small country, 90 miles off our shores, 9.5 million people population. What people forget that when it comes to things like espionage and influence operations, they actually are an influence and espionage superpower. If you look at the history of espionage in the United States, Cuba is the only country that consistently has implanted and embedded spies in our system. You're going to see some efforts over the next few weeks to see if we can't restart talks between the two sides and bring this war to an end. But we also understand that both sides have some pretty strong red lines, and until we can bring those red lines a little closer together, we're not going to be there yet. But we're ready to go, and the president's told his team, if you see an opportunity to be a force that brings about some momentum behind peace talks, let's do it. Any conflict between the U.S. and China, be it economic or be it military, God forbid, would be catastrophic for both countries and for the world. So we have to manage that, but we can't walk away or forfeit our national interests. So this is the hard work of foreign policy, and it requires every administration to sort of balance these two competing tugs against us.
One person was killed and 31 injured in Russian attacks on Zaporizhzhia on August 2nd, the regional governor says. Ivan Fedorov reports that Russian forces dropped 8 guided bombs on the city within just 90 minutes. A 71-year-old woman died under the rubble of a residential building, Fedorov adds. Reuters footage shows first responders treating victims near a damaged apartment block. Residential and non-residential buildings were destroyed in the strikes, as firefighters battled multiple blazes. Zaporizhzhia has been under heavy bombardment in recent months, Reuters notes. The latest strike comes after a series of massive missile and drone attacks on Kyiv. Ukrainian officials say Russia is intensifying a campaign against urban centers and key logistics hubs. Russia claimed on August 2nd that its forces captured 2 more Ukrainian settlements as fighting continued across multiple frontline sectors. Russia's defense ministry said its troops had taken control of Olgovka in the Kharkiv region and Lyubetskoy in the Zaporizhzhia region. The ministry credited Russia's Zapad group of forces with capturing the settlement of Olgovka during recent combat operations. Russian Defense Minister Andrei Belousov congratulated the troops involved, praising them for the latest battlefield gains. Russia also claimed it carried out precision strikes on Ukrainian ports and key transportation infrastructure during the latest operations. The defense ministry said fuel storage tanks at the port of Odessa were destroyed in the reported precision missile strikes. Russia further claimed a tugboat modified to launch uncrewed surface vessels was struck at the port of Mykolaiv. Russia's Dnieper group of forces said it also attacked Ukrainian positions near Orakov, Preobrazhenka, and Yulievka. The ministry claimed Ukrainian forces lost more than 40 personnel, 28 military vehicles, 6 electronic warfare stations and 1 artillery gun. Russia also reported striking Ukrainian drone production facilities, storage sites, and deployment areas during the latest offensive operations. A Russian drone struck a Rozetka warehouse in the Kyiv region on August 1st, killing 1 employee and injuring 7 others. The attack hit the company's logistics facility in Brovary, located northeast of the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv. Rozetka said around 270 employees were working inside the warehouse when the Russian drone struck the facility. The company identified the employee killed in the attack as Volodymyr Melnichenko and confirmed his death. Rozetka said the injured workers received medical treatment, while 1 person remained in serious condition after the strike. The warehouse attack followed Russia's large-scale missile and drone barrage against Kyiv and surrounding areas earlier the same day. Ukrainian officials said the wider assault damaged residential buildings, industrial facilities, a school, and the Lithuanian embassy. The strike came after Ukraine intensified attacks on Russia's Wildberries logistics centers in recent days. Ukrainian officials have claimed that Wildberries logistics facilities support Russia's broader military supply and logistics network.